What's up, everyone? It's Wild Runs Disc Golf. Let's get into it. All right, so today we're going to be talking about Jamie Thomas. Now, for those who don't know who he is, he runs Ultiworld, and that's a website for disc golf. Also, he does the Upshot podcast, which talks mostly about tournaments and the rankings for top players in MPO and FPO. And recently, he did a couple of the live streams for most of the major tournaments this year. And honestly, I have a lot of respect for Jamie Thomas, and I think he's really good at what he does. But what I'm going to be talking about today is him leaving the Upshot. Now, he's going on to be part of the Pro Tour as like a media manager, which is still a pretty vague description. I don't really know what that entails. I'm not sure he does either. But he's going on to hopefully make the tour a little bit better for the live show and all of the live aspects of the tournament. And on first glance, that sounds like a good thing. But my biggest gripe with Jamie has always been his just hardcore bias for the live show and everything around it, and really hating on post-produced content. Now, I think this limits his credibility a ton whenever he brings up anything on the podcast. And it's just very clear that when he talks about adding new subscriptions for the Pro Tour or making the live show better, it just comes off as him trying to maybe just add more money to his paycheck. It doesn't sound like an authentic desire. And because of that, I just don't have too much remaining love for him. I think when he talks about the standings and where the top 30 players sit, I trust his insight, and I think he's really smart at what he does. But just that very clear bias has always struck me as a pretty hardcore distinction of the other host, Charlie Eisenhood. And I think this is going to be a pretty good turning point for the podcast and for the website in general. Charlie has a ton of experience, and he knows what he's talking about, and he never really says anything that's too biased one way or the other. He's usually right down the middle, and I always respect his opinion. But obviously, since Jamie's going to be leaving, there's going to be a spot open, and I think this is going to be a pretty interesting spot. It could result in the podcast just straight up dying, which would be a real bummer because there are no good disc golf podcasts out there. I know Nate Sexton started one, but it's clear that he is not running the podcast. He's just a person on the podcast, and it's just not really interesting to me at all. I think it just kind of feels like Joe Mez's podcast, where they show up and talk instead of having like really clear descriptions of what they're going to talk about, and it just kind of meanders, and I don't really care for it. So the Upshot has always been the gold standard for me, and just seeing how it might kind of just die out would be a real shame. So I'm hoping that the next host just really shows up and proves himself or herself as a really competent host, because you really have to know a ton about both FPO and MPO to have a worthwhile opinion. So I'm really excited to see where that turns. But for now, I think Jamie Thomas is going to be making a pretty small salary. I think he's going to be making relatively small to what he has been making before. And I would like to say that the live show is going to get a whole lot better. But another issue that I've had with Jamie is that he looks at disc golf completely differently than how I feel like most people do. He kind of treats it as any other sport. There's so much drama and so much built up momentum from players. And I feel like, at least from my experience in my tournaments and watching players, there's not that amount of drama. It's more of just like, let's play the here and now and not worry about previous holes. But a big part of Jamie Thomas's strategy in live show is trying to pent up all this momentum of like, all right, Conrad's missed the last 3 putts. Can he make this one? I don't know if he can. He's really not showing up today. And stuff like that. It's like, that might work for actual golf, but for disc golf, I feel like that kind of fake drama just does not really make sense. Everyone knows, I mean, this is a pretty straightforward game. There's not that much to talk about if you're just diving into drama related stuff. Like, it's just a fun thing to watch. And that's why I feel like Jomez and Central Coast just nail it so much, because they recognize the sport can be kind of boring at times. And we don't really need to worry so much about, okay, this guy's 4 strokes down for the lead. Can he win? For the most part, he's probably not. And that's fine. I don't really care if the guy in 4th place shows up at the last second. I just kind of want to watch some disc golf and just have some fun. So I think it's going to be something that really I would hope would change in the live show, but I'm almost sure that Jamie's going to really lean into it that much more, being a full-timer. So with that said, I still have respect for the live show. I don't think it's total garbage, but as a huge disc golf fan, I would never watch it. I've tried to watch it over and over, and I just find it so unappealing. There's so many ads, so many breaks, so many cuts to shots that I don't care about. And I just don't ever see myself spending any amount of time, even if it's on the final day of USDGC, I would never watch it. So I'm hoping that something changes, but honestly, I just don't foresee that happening. So for me, and probably most other people, we're probably still just going to watch Jomez and next day coverage, because that's just the most interesting and convenient way to watch it. But as far as Jamie Thomas goes, I hope that he changes the tone around of the live show, because it seems like he has the most power. Nobody else really has that kind of seniority in deciding how the live show comes. And as far as the Upshot, my predictions are they will find a host that's going to be pretty good, but I don't think they can probably replace Jamie. I think he just has so much expertise that you just can't really find another guy that's like that. And I would love to see who they have as guest hosts. I think that would be a very interesting spot where you can really find people that might really blend in. Like, I honestly think that somebody like Simon would be really good at just talking about disc golf in like an interesting way that other people might not. And I think Simon probably has the expertise needed to talk about any player in the top 30. So I think he'd be really good and knowledgeable. But as far as anyone else, I don't really see anyone really stepping up. I think they're a little bit too focused, but we will see. So with that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Wilder Run signing out. Peace.